I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this is round 1 of the 2025 Carcassonne Champions League. It is now 1 minute before midnight UTC, so still evening of Thursday in the Western Hemisphere and morning of Friday in East Asia. And this is where one of today's players is from, RabbitRain, the currently highest traded player on Board Game Arena, originating from Japan. We'll be playing Marco Rivas with the screen name Manarori, a Mexican player with a spectacular style who was former world number 5 in the 2023 World Carcassonne Championships and in the World Team Carcassonne Online Championships was the MVP, winning 7 out of 7 matches in the group stage. This is going to be a battle between two very strong players, a slight advantage for the Japanese player. Actually, no, quite a substantial advantage for the Japanese player just because he's now in really good form. You can see the rating differences. But Manarori has one thing up his sleeve, and this is simply more tournament experience. So RabbitRain has been around the block and played a lot of games online, but this is his first ever major online tournament, as for the most part he has not been interested in playing in the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship as part of Team Japan. But we know that Team Japan managed to do pretty well without this help. If he were to participate in this, would make World Team Carcassonne Online Championships completely unfair. So the game has started. We see that the Mexican player is playing with yellow meeples, and the Japanese player playing with his traditional reds gets the first monastery, but Marco with the first 6 monastery points. And I just realized that I need to get my drawing tool. So just in a minute or so, I'm going to get some more pink on the screen. And there it is. That's the 6-point city that I was talking about. So, an interesting move here from the Japanese player. Well, that actually makes the most sense. So it says adding a point to the monastery, starting a new city, and setting up a road which is going through that city. And this square, even though it looks quite restricted, is actually impossible to block. It's only possible to restrict, but no matter what tile you place over here, in this square, there are going to be at least 3 tiles available. So Marco is now trying to take care of this city, and it works like a charm. Of course, RabbitRain still gets the tile for the 3-point road, but at the very least, he will not be finishing this 8-point city. And now Marco can think about invading the city even. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I think that would be a bit extra. So what I would probably do is meeple this. Oh, whoa. I actually confused the colors a little bit. So it was the Mexican who continued the road. And RabbitRain is trying to make an invasion, which is a bit of a surprising move for me. So he tends to play sometimes quite risky, and it's often pays off, like it does now, as he successfully completed the invasion, but at a price. So you see what the player with the red meeples did. He left this city cap at the bottom open, and Marco was able to take 4 points for it. Well, probably what I would have done, I would have played a bit of a slower move. I would have actually meepled this city cap and either try to build a 4-point city of my own, or maybe get a 2 Dorito sequence to invade over here, but a more direct invasion from RabbitRain. Marco gets Monastery, almost equalizes the monastery of the Japanese player. Now continues his city. A great tile for RabbitRain. Well, I'm not sure if it's great, but it's good. It goes over here. That's basically it. Or does it? That's a good question. Because if you're red here, what you really want to do is you want to save this spot for monastery. But just because Marco's threat of finishing an 8-point city is so significant, going over here is honestly not the worst idea. If this square gets blocked, for example, if yellow draws a Dorito with a road tile like this, so if this monastery square gets blocked, then we can always draw a triple city or a Dorito tile and tie this meeple to this blocked square, making sure that one meeple of yellow is blocked just as much as one red meeple. But if the square doesn't get blocked, then we are doing just fine. And you see, so RabbitRain chose a more flexible move. He did obstruct the city, but in a more direct way, whilst also preserving options to build up the monastery. In the meantime, with some interesting sequence of quick points, Red managed to create a platform to restrict the invasion of Red into the shared city, but unsuccessfully. And I know that I've been confusing colors in my speech. Of course, I meant to say yellow. It is a bit tricky for me because I normally tend to confuse colors. Not in real life, just when I'm speaking. And I sometimes say red instead of yellow and yellow instead of red. And today yellow is playing against red, so I will do my best to keep my commentary clear. But anyway, yellow's invaded successfully through a horse tile. Starting a new city now. Red with a slight advantage on the scoreboard. A slight advantage overall in this position, so this city ends up being equal. Yellow has a nice road over here, but a lot of road ends have gone out. Red is now building up efficiently, starting a new city at the bottom whilst also continuing his road at the top. Marco now just adds a monastery point, chooses not to meeple the monastery because it's not that easy for him to get a meeple back. But now Mr. Rabbit is going to go over here and probably he will meeple that monastery, at least I would. I wonder what the alternative is. And there is no alternative according to the Japanese player. Probably just needed to double check the number of tiles that fit into that square just to see that the monasteries can still be completed, and yes they can. In the meantime, Marco finishes a 6-point road and equalizes on the scoreboard. Still slightly favorable position for red, just this yellow city is a bit dangerous. Yellow has the better developed monasteries. Red has the better developed monasteries. And yellow has a city which still needs to prove its worth. So now it's an interesting decision here from Marco. So as Mr. Rain added 1 point to his monastery, he created a blocking platform. And this is immediately used by Marco. So he is blocking his own city, which is not ideal for him, but he's also blocking 2 of Red's monasteries. This is an arrangement that should keep both sides relatively happy. So RabbitRain is losing 2 meeples, comparison to Marco, who's losing only 1 meeple, but these meeples are scoring a lot of points. They score 16 points, whereas this city scores only 4. On the other hand, Marco can build up really a lot from these tiles over here, or maybe not a lot, but to 6 or 7 points. So it's okay for him to have a meeple blocked. And given the fact that there's still a large number of city caps available, Yellow's long-term plan will be to use his meeple advantage to create a big field and simply score more than these monasteries score. He keeps doing that. developing his field, now building up his monastery. I'm actually a bit surprised that RabbitRain didn't try and block the monastery. I think there was a bit of an opportunity over here, but I noticed something about RabbitRain is that normally Japanese players and East Asian players in general value blocking more than European players, like much more. But RabbitRain tends to be the exception. He really only blocks if it's a complete block, or if the feature of the opponent is so big that he cannot possibly afford its completion. And he generally tends to be very aggressive with the scoring, so preferring to add 4 points to his city as opposed to going over here and restrict Yellow's monastery, which was also a legit move. And when it comes to blocking, he doesn't care about either side, so he tends to not block his opponent, and he tends to be way more okay than most players with his own meeples being blocked. So now, of course, he does use a tile for a defense. Oh wait, that was Marco. Yeah, never mind. That was Marco, of course, so who's trying now to connect to Red City. And there's still a couple of tiles, and by a couple I mean one, that fits into this square. And by placing this curve, he actually made it much, much harder for RabbitRain to place something over here and block the square definitively. Even though both of these meeples will be trapped, Yellow, of course, really wants to draw the tile, and yes, he does. So the coin flip has been won by Red. And now all of these city points that Red spent a couple of moves building will be shared, and then this city probably will be completed, which will add more field points for Yellow. Now, suddenly the position of RabbitRain is not that great. I mean, it's still equalish, but because there's still 17 tiles remaining, there is enough time for Yellow to inflict some more damage and try to add a couple of more city caps into his field, which will then be enough to outrun the monasteries. And this is why RabbitRain is now trying to prevent this field from growing. So this move sets up a blocking attack against this city cap, even though it's nobody's city cap, it is in Yellow's field. So Yellow will benefit a lot from its completion. So let's just double check the score here. At the moment, Red is actually ahead. So behind 5 points on the scoreboard and 4 points for this city ruin of Manarori and 6 points for this field, which is 15 points overall, but 16 points for the monastery. So overall, RabbitRain is +1, or really +2, because 3 points for a city here compared to 2 points city of Manarori for now. So 2 extra points in total for RabbitRain. But I'd still have to put the Mexican as the favorite here, simply because of the potential of this field to grow. But then there's still plenty of paths to victory for RabbitRain. First of all, he could draw a splitter tile that fits over here. There's still one of those remaining, and it would allow him to finish in 8-point city, whilst the city of Manarori would still need some work. And there are even chances to go here and block the square and leave this yellow meeple stranded. This would probably do the job for the Japanese player. Also, note how interestingly he uses a city cap to block the city cap of Yellow. But Yellow scored 3 points for the road, and now he's in the lead with just 1 point, but still it's something. So what could RabbitRain do? Maybe just going over here and pre-blocking this square would be nice. Instead, he chooses to start a new city and at the same time restricts Yellow's field. Now he completes the pre-block. And the sequence works out. What a pull of tiles. So you see this idea with the splitter works out like a charm. He will get his 8 points back, and Manarori will not get his city meeple back because this here was the last starting tile. So there's nothing anymore left that fits into this square. Hi Acritter, hi Milek, it is in quite the rating indeed. Hi Pichan, already see we have both Japanese and Mexican fans here for some nice balance. As usual, I'm curious, do let me know who you are rooting for and do let me know who you think is going to win, which is not always the same thing. So now the question is, how does Manarori come back? Because RabbitRain just got a lot of points. Well, actually it was just a 4-point move, because it turned a 3-point city into an 8-point city, but it also gave 1 point to Manarori. So the Mexican is only down 3 points. But the problem is that there's this guy, which not only scores a 4th point, but also is a bit dangerous because it could give Red a meeple back. So Yellow now tries to simply drop a city cap and also meeples it. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm pretty sure that at least my gut instinct tells me that I have strong objections against that. I don't think we can afford to be meepling city caps at this score. Probably what I would do is just leave it open and hope that RabbitRain draws something like this, which he then does. And what he's going to do, he's just going to go over here and restrict the city cap significantly. Manarori gets himself 1 point, cannot complete his city, and this is now even harder for him because his city cap tile is drawn by the Japanese player. But he has another one and gets his city meeple back. Should be behind 2 points now, but a great scoring tile for RabbitRain. He could either get himself 2 road points or he could meeple monastery somewhere. For example, going here for 7 points is not the worst idea. He also needs to count the tiles, and 3 minutes on the clock is enough to do that. Note that the time format might seem a bit unusual for some of our viewers, but this time format is actually much more similar to other Mind Sports. It's just 15 minutes per game, no increment. Kind of like the Carcassonne equivalent of rapid chess. So according to the rules of the tournament, the players can choose between one of the two time formats, either 15 minutes no increment or 3 minutes time bank, which gets replenished every move with a 45-second increment. Well, now we're going a bit short on time though, so 2.5 minutes left for the entire game. He has played this format before. In fact, yours truly played a qualification match against RabbitRain, and that was also held in a 15-minute format. And what happened, the Japanese player also went really low on time, but it was just enough to have control of the situation. So his time management is generally solid. Now let's just double check the points again. So it should be like 3 or 4 in favor of RabbitRain. Let's just see. So he has -1, 16, that's plus 16, so that's plus 15, -5, so that's plus 10, -3, so that's plus 7, plus 1, so that's plus 8, and then 6-point field, so this is plus 2 for the Japanese player. And he's gonna have the last tile as the player with the starting advantage, player advantage. Okay, well, Manarori is saying that it's raining and the power went out. That's not good. So good that the Mexican appears to be back. Milek is saying, I like that Rabbit takes his time. Usually people play too fast for me to follow this tournament. Yes, I agree, actually. So if you saw the match between, who was it? So that was Mace 11 of Slovakia and Danny Angelat of Catalonia. This was actually the first stream I made this year. And 3 games were finished in just half an hour. So this was the fastest stream, the quickest stream that I made in all my streaming career, I think. Well, the quickest one so far. But yeah, as a commentator, I certainly prefer when players take their time so we can dive a little bit deeper. Maybe we can even count the tiles a little bit, but yeah, so just 2 points was the choice of RabbitRain, bringing his lead to +4. And it appears that it should be enough because Mananori just can't score much. So the best that he can do in this move, he'll probably have to settle for a 6-point field over here. And then how can he score points in a different way? So he could later hope for a city cap that finishes the city in his field, even though it's a shared city. Finishing the city would give 3 extra points, and so this would be a way to score 9. But I don't think there's a city cap remaining that fits there. Yeah, because the starting tiles have gone out a long time ago. This was the last tile of its kind, and the 3 daggers have gone out, so there's no tile that goes over here. And if Mananori goes here, Meeple the 6-point field, he goes up by +2 only, because he's now at -4. And is that enough? No, that's not enough. Of course that's not enough. Because RabbitRain can just easily score a 3-point field and win with +1. Or a 4-point row, that's even better. Winning with +2. Mananori gets a city cap but can't use it properly. The sad part about this is that there's not even a way to drop it in his field and hope for its completion. Well, even if there were a way, this was the last tile. Some precise playing from the Mexican, actually. So he blocked the development of that road, saving himself 1 point. If I counted correctly, then the Japanese player should be winning this game +2. Or maybe +3. I'm not sure if I counted this little guy. So it could be +3. Yeah, so as lovely as this idea was to start a farm and try to outrun the 2 blocked monasteries, somehow RabbitRain built around this square and built around this square and just did not allow the Mexican farms to grow at all. And +2 is the result. So it seemed like a close game, but I felt like RabbitRain had quite a lot of control in it, although not without some good tiles. So this quick point tile and this quick point tile certainly helped a lot. On the other hand, quite fortunate for Rory that RabbitRain was not able to complete his city at the top. But this just goes to show you that these sort of positions with 2 blocked meeples versus 1, they can be pretty balanced. So as the side with the blocked meeples, there's no need to be afraid if these blocked meeples give you a lot of points. All right, so 1-0 for Japan. Let's see if Mexico can respond with a comeback. They will be now getting the starting player advantage in the second game. A reminder to you all that this is a best-of-3 format, as are all group stage games in this league. Wait, where's RabbitRain? Oh yeah, there we go. So Rory starts a 2-point road to open the game, and the first city cap goes for the Japanese player, who scores 4 points. Rory starts a new city in an interesting location. So it gives back a monastery spot, and it also creates a field. So maybe his plan is just to make a big field fight. Normally you don't want to do that. Normally, if you are the side who is building cities, then you are a bit less likely to end up with the field control in the end, just because your opponent will have an extra tempo to claim the field whilst you're building the cities in it. But he chose to start the city over here simply so that he does not obstruct his road. And he ends up being the first on the field anyway, so far that's working. RabbitRain, of course, has simply more points, at least for now. Scores 2 points for a road rather, leaving an empty city cap. I really like that move. Many players would have done something different, but it's the most aggressive move and it immediately pays off. Mistake here from Rory. This move should have gone over here, cleaning off the city cap. Instead, what this does... Yeah, I'm even starting to doubt. Was that Rory, or was that RabbitRain? Because this move makes sense to play if you're red, because it very nicely creates a juicy monastery spot next to red's monastery, and it prevents yellow from easily completing this city. So I just don't see the point why yellow would go there. Maybe yellow wanted to make something like this and create a 50-50 block so that red would be forced to draw the road monastery if he wants to complete his monastery. But then he didn't complete this block anyway. And now red, of course, continues this setup of this juicy monastery spot next to his. Also obstruct Rory's city, so both sides are being quite cooperative. Yellow is saying, I want to help you with the monastery and mess up my own city. And red is saying, yes, we're on the same team. I want to help my monastery and mess up yellow's city. How great that we think alike. I just need to double check here and go through the logs. And yes, it was indeed yellow who placed this tile over here. Really not sure what happened here. It could very much cost him the match because this position looked quite okay, with only a 4-point lead for RabbitRain and a nice juicy field. But now, with this monastery and another monastery waiting to come, the field is probably just not going to be enough. So in order to have chances in this game, Rory would need, I was going to say, to save his city, which is now being blocked, with the help of Rory, of course, who made it hard to complete in the first place. So again, very cooperative players. RabbitRain successfully completed the block, which was started by Manarori. But the consolation prize here is that this square is now way, way less valuable. So when RabbitRain gets a monastery tile, he's going to place it over here, but he won't really be able to meeple it productively. He's probably going to still meeple it just because 8 points are good. Oh, I'm very curious. So very, very curious about this decision. He's going to go over here, but do you spend a meeple for 8 points or not? Or maybe you actually don't go there in the first place. Maybe you could go over here and take out this 7-point monastery first, and then with the next monastery that you draw, then you can go over here, and based on the meeple situation, decide whether you can afford to meeple it or not. Because you see, if you draw this monastery closer to the end of the game, then 8 points for a meeple is a great price. He just does it anyway. He just does it anyway, yeah. So he doesn't care about this meeple being blocked. He decides that 8 points with 1 meeple is a good investment. I actually agree with him. Probably what I would have done, I would have actually taken out this monastery spot first and then meeple this spot later. The reason for that is the fact that imagine if the tiles are reversed. So imagine if the next tile of Manarori is a monastery, then he can happily go over here, score 7 points, and then complete this monastery at some point. But if red were to go here first, and this square were empty, then after yellow draws a monastery, yellow obviously can't go here, because this is not a good monastery, because it would be blocking his own meeple and also giving red a meeple back. So he would need to take a inferior spot here for 5 points. So I'm very curious to find out what RabbitRain's idea was. Maybe he wasn't even considering this move in the first place. Maybe he was just simply thinking whether it's worth to place a meeple here or not. In the meantime, some interesting construction projects from Manarori trying to come back in this game. First of all, this one over here, trying to take over a 12-point city, which is now trickier to do after RabbitRain scored 3 points and restricted this square. Or should I take this back, as Marco draws immediately a tile that fits into that square with the extra value of 2 points. However, this square is really sensitive, so some good tiles are necessary for this city to be completed. Another thing that Marco did was set up this evil hamster spot, just trying to go for a monastery coin flip. If yellow is the first to draw the road monastery, then that's great. They get 9 points with no meeple investment, because they get the meeple immediately back. But because there's this square on the board, they now need to make sure that they don't spend their last meeple, that they need to keep a meeple in hand at all times, just in case they draw this all-valuable tile. So RabbitRain now with a scoring tile, probably going to get 3 points over here. Could consider going over here for 2 points and slightly restricting that square. I don't think that's particularly strong. With a lead, you really just want to be taking the points here. Probably pointing the crossroads upwards to give yourself some backdoor chances of finishing your road like this with back-to-back curve. He chooses to take a 2-point road. I wonder why, and I think a reason could have something to do with restricting this field. But if I'm red, I'm not too concerned about restricting the field, because as red, since we're leading, we should be assuming that yellow draws this tile. Or even if you draw this tile, like whoever draws it, they're gonna place it over here, and just for the sake of 9 points. And this in turn will expand the farm no matter what. This will bring this city into the farm. This will give some green squares for yellow. And since yellow has invested 2 meeples in this farm, there's no really need for RabbitRain to attack this. But maybe the point of sacrificing 1 point and taking a 2-point road instead of a 1-point road, instead of a 3-point road, was just simply to avoid obstructing this square, because this square could later be used by red either for invading the city or for blocking it. Now, of course, red is going to go over here to neutralize the threats of yellow completing an 8-point city. And the only thing he's thinking whether to meeple this city, and the answer is yes. Yes, hi Sunny. So Sunny's pointing out in the chat that if you take the 3-point road, then it sort of blocks the attacking square against the city, and this is true, yeah, so this must have been an idea. But then it also actually, if this 3-point road, it blocks the attacking square for the city, but then it creates some blocking opportunities. If you get a big tile, then you can draw it over here and commit it to a starting tile, so it's double-edged. But just generally in a position with a substantial lead, I just prefer to take the points. So Mr. Rabbit here is really thinking multiple times before making them what seems to me like the only move in this position. I'm really curious what were his alternatives. Nico's saying that Man and Rory might be playing on the phone due to the rain. Well, that would certainly give him a massive, massive disadvantage in this match. I tried playing on my phone a couple of times. I could barely finish my game. Even an iPad was hard enough. Yeah, but this phone is just way too small, especially on a horizontal map. Now at least the players are building a vertical map. So, what are we having here? RabbitRain is thinking a lot. Still has 6 minutes on his clock, but 26 tile remaining. This means that he still has 14 moves to play. It's fewer than 30 seconds per turn. He now decides to equalize the city at the top. And it makes sense. With his lead, he's trying to avoid the worst case scenario. But one thing that I'm surprised about is that he doesn't care about his road. So the majority of players in Board Game Arena, they would have placed this tile over here, hoping to draw a curve and continue his road. But RabbitRain doesn't seem to care that much. A lot of that has to do with the fact that there's only 1 curve remaining anyway. So he's probably not even hoping to finish his road. And there's also the road monastery. And look at that. So he wins the coin flip. And with that, he's probably going to win this match. However, I should not call this prematurely because Mana Rory now sacrifices his last meeple in a desperate attempt to try and invade and complete what's going to be a 22-point city at the very least. I'm loving this move here by the Mexican. Is it likely that he'll be able to complete his city? No. But this is the only true path back into this game because this draw was so damaging. Not only did Red successfully complete his road and start a new monastery, so that is an 8-point move with basically no meeple investment, because he just got his meeple back and then he placed it over here. This also means that Marco will not be getting these extra points. these 9 points that he needs a lot. And this also means that yellow will not be developing his field, because look at this city cap and this city over here. If a road monastery would go here, then all of these cities at the top would belong to this field. But now yellow is still stuck with 2 meeples on one 9-point field, scoring a measly 4.5 points, 4.5 points per meeple. Sadly for our Mexican fans, this is the move that's going to end the game, because the idea of completing the city is now gone. Red equalized yellow city here. So if a tile is placed here, it does not really matter. It will just turn a city which is tied with 2 meeples per side into a city which is tied with 3 meeples per side. But I'm sure that Marco will be trying to find a path back. He's quite a gritty player. And I see one super unlikely path back, but we should still try it. Step 1. Draw the splitter tile. This is necessary for us to get 8 points on the scoreboard and get a meeple back somewhere, because we really need a meeple. Step 2, optional step. Maybe we block this square just to prevent RabbitRain from completing his own 8-point city. But maybe we don't even have to do this. Step 3, we get a big tile that goes here. And then step 4, we accomplish a desperate invasion with our last meeple, and then connect into the city like this, and then we win it with a 4 versus 3 majority for 24 points. Plus 3 extra points for a new city on our farm. And then we might come back. But none of that, of course, happened, because RabbitRain very wisely now used the tile to prevent that exact opportunity, restricting the square in such a way that a splitter would no longer fit there. I'm now trying to block the square entirely, and it now will work, as the last meeple of yellow will be gone. Or maybe not, as 4 points seem to be more valuable to the Japanese player. And this could be because there might not even be a tile that fits there, although I believe there's still one. There's this triple city over here. So this move was simply to prevent the splitter, and the splitter is drawn by RabbitRain anyway. And now the Japanese player has his last tile and a wealth of options, chooses to score 4 points in the most stylish fashion, finishing in 9 points monastery and dropping a 3-point farmer. Yeah, very rough game for the Mexican. Of course, some tough draws with losing some coin flips, but I don't think it's really that. So, first of all, the decision to drop 2 meeples on a farm really early ended up really backfiring. Look at these poor farmers. They looked so profitable at the start, but they still remained at 9 points. The 9 points that were there at basically the start of the game. So it's 4.5 points per meeple. It's even, so this meeple, even though it looks good, it's actually even less valuable than this meeple on the city, because this meeple was worth 5 points and this meeple was worth 4.5. And of course, the move that made the game so difficult, which I find really difficult to explain, was this move over here when yellow decided to start breaking his own city. And I double checked, it was yellow, it wasn't red. And then after some cooperation, the city was broken. The extra monastery spot was created, and After that, it was just a matter of technique and maybe some advantageous tile draws, as this monastery over here. So a 100-point game for RabbitRain, quite a massive win. Not that the point difference matters necessarily. And this match proves to be rather short, just 45 minutes, but not as short as the match between Slovakia and Catalonia the other day. So yeah, a lot to learn here about field restriction and about monastery building. So Manarori gets his second point. RabbitRain gets his second point. I'm gonna update the scoreboard in just a second. And there was something else that I was going to say. Hi, Marco. My commiserations. So, were you actually playing on a phone because of the rain? Was that the case? Yeah, and as you can see, also RabbitRain crosses the 850 threshold of rating. I'm not sure if they have been before. Few players have. Maybe like around 10 or under 10 probably that have ever crossed this threshold. Yeah, they seem to be in very good shape. I just want to have a look at them. So, do they have like a long winning streak or something? So 1-2. Other games. They do been playing Lost Ruins of Arnak a lot. I know that some Carcassonne players are into that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I know there's a more efficient way to do this, I know, but I can't help myself. I've already started. 9, playing against Koki Yamaguchi. 10. Did he really just not lose games in a month? Okay, there we go. So 10-game winning streak. So at least he sometimes loses. So there's hope for everyone. A little bit of hope for everyone. Although Koki Yamaguchi is also playing in this league and is a really strong Japanese master. So maybe not for anyone, for some people. So, what do we have next for us? I just wanted to show the other matches that I was planning. No. First of all, I wanted to show their group situation. Yes. Because Manarori and RabbitRain, they will still have all these players to face. And I would have to say that so the Czech match will be really tough, but in order to get into the top three, probably Manarori, even after losing his first match, has decent chances, because I would put him as the favorite against pretty much anybody off here, maybe except the Czech master, just because Marco has so much playing experience in this type of tournament setting. So we're going to see over the course of next week how this group develops. And finally, our plans for the nearest future. Yeah, here you can see the results from today. So, this match is way too early. And unless I somehow find a case of insomnia, I won't be streaming it. And I really hope that my beauty sleep will be just fine. And then our main course for tomorrow, or today rather, if you are in Europe or East Asia, or any part of Asia for that matter. Juha Haineme against Ervin G. Ervin Gal of Romania. That should be an exciting match to watch, although quite a quick one. Knowing Ervin's speed, it will be a bit difficult to commentate, but it is what it is. So I'll see you all there. unless there are other matches scheduled on that day, probably this will be the only one. But then on Saturday, we're having ourselves 2 matches at the very least. Samuelson of Ukraine against Warta of Brazil, and Siegfried of Hungary against Lure Troop of Argentina. So these are the pairings. And then, of course, on the 12th, our main match of the week, 2016 World Champion and 2024 Mind Sports Olympiad Champion. That should be fun. Alrighty, so just stay tuned for the updates on streams in case some more matches are scheduled over the course of next week. There's not going to be much notice because sometimes these matches are scheduled at a very short notice, like a couple of hours before. So your best way to keep up, if you want to do this, is to subscribe and click the bell notification icon so that you are notified about all the streams. And of course, make sure to maple the like button for the algorithm if you like this video. Other than that, thank y'all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.